My brother stole my pain medication after my surgery and sold it, said you're faking the pain, then I went through withdrawal and agony. Now he's panicking because the DEA traced the pills back to him. I'm testifying against him. I'm 28. He's 32. I had a herniated disc repaired and they sent me home with a bottle of oxycodone, 60 pills, instructions to take them every 6 hours. Standard stuff. I live alone and my brother offered to stay with me the first week to help out since I couldn't walk properly or bend over or do anything without wanting to scream. Day 3 I woke up and the pain was worse than before surgery. I thought maybe I'd moved wrong in my sleep. I went to take my pill and the bottle was gone from my nightstand. I looked everywhere I could reach without killing myself. Nothing. My brother was in the kitchen making coffee. I asked him if he'd seen my medication. What medication? He said. The pills. The oxy. They were right next to my bed. He shrugged. You probably took them already and forgot. Those things mess with your memory. I knew I hadn't. I'd taken one at 2 a.m. when I woke up hurting. It was now 8 a.m. I needed another one. The pain was getting worse by the minute and I started sweating. Can you please just look for them? I can't move around like this. You're fine, he said. You're being dramatic. People get addicted to that stuff, maybe it's better you don't take them. I actually started crying. Not because of what he said but because the pain was so bad I couldn't think straight. Please. I need them. Call my doctor if you don't believe me. You need to toughen up, he said. Then he left. Said he had to go to work. I didn't see him again for 2 days. Those 2 days were hell. I'm talking sweating through my sheets, shaking, throwing up, the pain in my back so bad I genuinely thought about calling 911. But I felt stupid. What would I say? My brother took my pills? I had no proof. I called my doctor's office and they said they couldn't prescribe more because it was a controlled substance and I'd already gotten my monthly supply. They thought I was drug seeking. When my brother finally came back I was on the bathroom floor. I'd been there for 3 hours because I couldn't get up. He stepped over me to use the toilet. See? You're fine. Still alive. That's when I knew for sure he'd taken them. The way he said it. So casual. So sure I didn't need them. It took me another week to recover enough to move around. I stayed with my mom after that. She wanted to call the cops but I talked her out of it. He's her son too and I didn't want to destroy the family over pills. Stupid, I know. 2 months passed. I found out through my mom's neighbor that my brother had been selling pills. Oxy specifically. He'd apparently been doing it for a while to pay off gambling debts. I felt sick. Those were my pills. My name. My prescription. Then 3 weeks ago 2 DEA agents showed up at my apartment. They wanted to know about my prescription. Apparently someone had overdosed on pills that traced back to my prescription number. They'd arrested the dealer who sold them and he'd given up my brother. Who'd given up my name saying I was the one selling them and he was just delivering for me. I lost it. I told them everything. Showed them my surgical records, my hospital discharge papers, my mom's number to verify I'd stayed with her after my brother helped me. I told them about the withdrawal, the pain, all of it. They recorded everything. Turns out my brother had stolen controlled substances from a post-surgical patient, which is apparently a bigger deal legally than just regular theft. Also insurance fraud since my insurance paid for those pills. Also he'd sold them across state lines which made it federal. He got arrested last week. My mom called me crying saying I'd ruined his life. His girlfriend left him. He lost his job. He's looking at actual prison time, like years, not months. The prosecutor wants me to testify at his hearing next month. My family is split. Half think I should have kept my mouth shut. The other half saw what I went through and think he deserves it. My aunt said I'm being vindictive and I should drop the charges but I literally can't, it's federal now, it's out of my hands. My brother's lawyer called me yesterday asking if I'd write a character statement to help reduce his sentence. He said my brother's really sorry and didn't understand how serious it was. But I remember lying on that bathroom floor begging for help while he stepped over me. I remember him calling me a faker while I went through withdrawal. Some of my cousins aren't talking to me anymore. They say family comes first and I should have handled it privately. But he blamed me to federal agents. He was going to let me take the fall for his drug dealing. I just wanted to heal from my surgery. Now I'm the one who destroyed my brother's entire life apparently. Am I a butthole? The hearing was yesterday and I'm still shaking. I need to get this out because nobody in my real life understands what actually happened in that courtroom. My mom won't talk to me. My brother's friends have been blowing up my phone. And honestly I'm starting to question if I did the right thing even though I know logically I did. So the prosecutor contacted me about 2 weeks after my last post. She was this woman in her 40s, very direct, and she laid it out plain. My brother wasn't just selling my pills. He'd been doing this for over a year with multiple people. Elderly patients, post-surgery cases like me, even a guy with cancer. He worked as a patient transport at the hospital which is how he had access. He'd befriend people, offer to help them at home, then steal their medications while they were sleeping or too weak to notice. The cancer patient's daughter reported him first but they couldn't prove it until my case. Because I documented everything with my doctor about the missing pills and the withdrawal. Because I told my mom right away. Because there was a clear timeline. They found 12 other victims once they started digging. 12. I threw up when she told me that. Just went to her office bathroom and got sick because I kept thinking about that cancer patient. About how much pain he must have been in. My brother knew I'd had surgery. He watched me lie on that bathroom floor and he knew exactly what he'd done and he didn't care. The prosecutor said I didn't have to testify if I couldn't handle it. But she also said my testimony would probably be the most impactful because I was his sister. Because it showed pattern of behavior even with family. I said I'd do it. My mom begged me not to. She came to my apartment the night before the hearing and just sobbed. She said he'd already lost everything. What more did I want? She said he was going to rehab and getting help for his gambling problem and I should give him a chance to fix this privately. I told her he'd blamed me to federal agents. He'd literally tried to put me in prison to save himself. She said he panicked and made a mistake. A mistake. Like he accidentally told the DEA his sister was a drug dealer. My dad didn't come but he texted me. Just said do what you think is right. That's it. No pressure either way. Somehow that made it harder. The courtroom was smaller than I expected. My brother was there in a suit I'd never seen before, probably borrowed. He wouldn't look at me during the entire thing. Just stared at the table in front of him. They had me sworn in and the prosecutor asked me to describe what happened after my surgery. I told them everything. The pain, the missing pills, how he called me dramatic, the 2 days alone, the bathroom floor. I started crying when I got to the part about calling my doctor's office and them thinking I was drug seeking. Because that shame was still so fresh. That feeling of not being believed when you're telling the truth. My brother's lawyer tried to make it seem like I couldn't be sure he took them. Maybe I'd misplaced them in my drug state. Maybe someone else had access to my apartment. I told him my brother was the only person with a key. The only person who'd been there. The prosecutor submitted photos I'd taken of my prescriptions and the bottle for insurance purposes before surgery. Clear evidence of what I'd been prescribed and when. Then they brought in the cancer patient's daughter. She testified about finding her dad screaming in pain, about how he'd started asking her if she was stealing his morphine because some kept going missing. About how he died thinking his own daughter was a thief because my brother had been visiting him as a friend from the hospital. I watched my brother's face during that testimony. He cried. But I don't know if it was real or if it was for the judge. His lawyer argued gambling addiction, said my brother needed treatment not prison. Brought up his clean record before this. Said he was remorseful. My brother even made a statement about how sorry he was and how he'd take it all back if he could. He still didn't look at me. The judge asked if I wanted to make a victim impact statement. I hadn't prepared one because I didn't think I could get through it. But I stood up anyway. I told the judge about trusting my brother. About how he'd offered to help me because I lived alone and needed someone. About how that trust was so fundamental I didn't even question it when the pills first went missing. I told him about the withdrawal, about thinking I was dying, about the shame of not being believed. And then I said the thing I'd been thinking about for weeks. He didn't just steal pills. He stole my ability to trust people when I'm vulnerable. He stole my recovery. And he was going to let me go to prison for what he did. My voice cracked on that last part. The judge just nodded. They sentenced him to 4 years. Could have been more but they factored in the gambling addiction and his cooperation after arrest. 4 years in federal prison. Plus restitution to all the victims, which he'll probably never be able to pay. My mom ran out of the courtroom. Some cousin I barely know called me a cold bitch in the hallway. My brother's now ex-girlfriend told me I should be ashamed of myself. I just walked out and sat in my car for an hour. My dad called that night. He said he was proud of me. That it took guts to do the right thing even when it hurt. I cried so hard I couldn't breathe. But my mom isn't speaking to me. My aunt sent me a long text about forgiveness and family loyalty. Half my cousins have blocked me on everything. They keep saying he's sick, he has a disease, I'm punishing him for being an addict. He's not an addict though. The drugs weren't for him. They were for money. And he was fine watching me suffer to get it. I keep thinking about the bathroom floor. About begging him to help me and him stepping over me to take a piss. About him calling me a faker while I went through withdrawal. And then I think about the cancer patient who died believing his daughter stole from him and I feel sick all over again. My therapist says I did the right thing but I'm allowed to grieve the family relationships this destroyed. That both things can be true at once. I don't know what I expected posting here again. Maybe I just needed to tell someone who isn't emotionally invested. My friends are supportive but they didn't see what I went through. They don't get why this feels so complicated. 4 years. He'll be 40 when he gets out. My mom will probably never forgive me. Half my family thinks I'm vindictive. And I'm sitting here wondering if there was any other way this could have gone that wouldn't have ended with someone getting hurt. But then I remember there were 12 other people. 12 other families he destroyed for gambling money. And I think about what would have happened if I'd stayed quiet. Was I wrong for testifying? My brother's girlfriend showed up at my job 3 days ago and I had to call security. I work reception at a dental office. We just finished with the morning patients when she walked in. I didn't recognize her at first because she'd cut her hair short and lost weight. But then she said my name and I knew. We need to talk, she said. I told her I was working and she needed to leave. She didn't move. Just stood there in the waiting room with 2 patients staring at us. You destroyed his life. You know that, right? He tried to kill himself last week. My hands went numb. I asked her to step outside. She followed me to the parking lot and that's when she really let loose. He tried to hang himself in his cell with a bedsheet. They found him in time and he's on suicide watch now. She showed me pictures on her phone of letters he'd written her. Talking about how he can't do 4 years. How everyone hates him. How his own sister put him there. I didn't know what to say. Part of me felt horrible. Part of me remembered the bathroom floor. She said his lawyer thinks they can appeal based on mental health grounds. That if I wrote a letter saying I didn't want him prosecuted this harshly, it might help reduce his sentence. She had papers with her. Already drafted. I just needed to sign. I said no. She lost it. Started screaming about family, about forgiveness, about how I was just as bad as him for not showing mercy. Called me a vindictive bitch who wanted revenge more than justice. My boss came outside and asked if everything was okay. The girlfriend got in my face and said she hoped I could live with myself when my brother succeeded next time. Security walked her to her car. I went home early because I couldn't stop shaking. That night my mom called. First time since the hearing. She'd heard about the suicide attempt from my brother's lawyer. She wanted to know if I was happy now. If this was what I wanted when I testified. I tried to explain that I didn't want any of this. That I just told the truth about what happened. She said the truth didn't matter as much as family. That I should have protected him even if he was wrong. That's what family does. I asked her if she remembered me on her bathroom floor that week I stayed with her. Shaking and sick and crying. She went quiet for a long time. That was different, she finally said. He's my son. I'm your daughter. She hung up. My dad came by yesterday. Didn't call first, just showed up with takeout. We ate in silence for a while before he said anything. Your mother is struggling, he told me. She thinks if she'd been a better parent, none of this would have happened. I said that wasn't true. My brother made his choices. Dad nodded but he looked tired. She needs someone to blame and you're here. He's not. We talked for 2 hours. He told me things I didn't know. How my brother had stolen from them before. Small stuff. Money from my mom's purse, my dad's tools to pawn. They'd always made excuses. Gambling problem, financial stress, bad influences. They'd enabled him without realizing it. I'm proud of you for testifying, my dad said before he left. I should have dealt with this years ago. But I'm not proud of how it's tearing this family apart. I don't think he meant it as criticism but it felt like it anyway. The prosecutor called this morning. The appeal is real. My brother's lawyer is arguing that the sentence was too harsh given his mental state and lack of violent criminal history. They're using the suicide attempt as evidence he can't handle prison. They want me to testify again at the appeal hearing. I asked what happens if I don't. She said it weakens the case but doesn't eliminate it. The other victims can still testify. The evidence still stands. But my testimony as family carries weight the others don't have. I said I needed time to think about it. I've been looking at those letters his girlfriend showed me. I took pictures before she left. His handwriting is shaky and some parts don't make sense, like his thoughts are scattered. He talks about the cancer patient a lot. About how he didn't know the man was that sick. About how he thought he was just selling pills to people who wanted to get high, not people who actually needed them. But he knew about me. He watched me suffer and did nothing. I called my therapist for an emergency session. She asked me what I was most afraid of. I told her I was afraid he'd succeed next time. That he'd kill himself in prison and it would be my fault for testifying. She reminded me that he made choices that hurt 12 people. That consequences aren't the same as revenge. That I'm allowed to protect myself even from family. But she also said grief isn't rational. That I can grieve the brother I thought I had while still holding the real one accountable. My cousin, the one who called me a cold bitch at the courthouse, posted something on social media yesterday. Didn't name me directly but it was obvious. About how some people value rules over human life. About how the justice system is broken and cruel. About supporting her cousin through the hardest time of his life. Got hundreds of likes. People I grew up with commenting about forgiveness and second chances. I wanted to comment back about the 12 victims. About the cancer patient who died thinking his daughter stole from him. About me on that bathroom floor. But I didn't. Just blocked her and tried not to think about it. My brother's best friend messaged me last night. He's known my brother since high school. The message was long but it basically said I should think about what prison does to people. How my brother won't survive it. How I have the power to help and I'm choosing not to. I haven't responded yet. The appeal hearing is in 6 weeks. The prosecutor needs to know by next week if I'm testifying. She said I should think carefully about what I can live with. Both ways have consequences. If I testify, my brother might spend the full 4 years in prison. My mom might never speak to me again. Half my family will hate me forever. And if something happens to him in there, I'll have to live with that. If I don't testify, or if I write that letter asking for leniency, maybe his sentence gets reduced. Maybe my family forgives me. Maybe my brother gets another chance. But then I think about those 12 people. About what message it sends if family can commit crimes and hide behind mental health and guilt trips. About the fact that he literally tried to blame me for his drug dealing to save himself. I don't know what the right choice is anymore. Everyone keeps telling me what I should do but nobody can tell me how to live with either option. Am I wrong for even considering not testifying at the appeal? I told the prosecutor I'd testify at the appeal and my mom found out before I could tell her myself. Someone from my brother's legal team must have leaked it because she knew within hours. She called me 16 times in a row. I was at work so I couldn't answer. When I finally called back during lunch she didn't say hello. Just started with how could you? Not a question. A statement. I tried to explain that I couldn't let him get away with what he did to 12 people. She cut me off and said those 12 people weren't her children. That I was choosing strangers over my own blood. That when this was over and my brother was broken beyond repair, I'd have to live with that. Then she said something that's been stuck in my head for days. You're worse than he is. At least he feels remorse. I hung up on her. First time I've ever done that. My dad texted me an hour later saying mom had a panic attack and he had to take her to urgent care. Nothing serious, but her blood pressure was through the roof. He didn't say it was my fault, but the implication was clear. Work got worse after the girlfriend incident. My boss pulled me aside yesterday and said she's received 3 phone calls to the office asking about me. People claiming to be concerned family members but really just harassing the staff. One person told our receptionist that I was a danger to patients because I lack empathy. Another said they were worried about my mental stability. My boss was kind about it, but she asked if I could take some time off until this settled down. Paid leave, she called it. But I know what it really is. They don't want the drama affecting the practice. So now I'm home all day with nothing to do but think. The appeal hearing got moved up. It's in 3 weeks now instead of 6. My brother's lawyer apparently argued that keeping him on suicide watch was cruel and unusual given the circumstances. The judge agreed to expedite. I got served with something 2 days ago. Not legal papers exactly, but close enough to scare me. It's a letter from a victim advocacy group my brother's legal team hired. They're arguing that the justice system is too punitive and that cases like my brother's prove we need reform. They want to use his case as an example of how harsh sentencing affects families and mental health. The letter asked if I'd be willing to speak about the trauma this has caused our family. About how prosecution has hurt me as much as my brother's crimes did. They want me to argue for reduced sentencing based on family impact. I called the prosecutor immediately. She said it's a common tactic. Make the victim feel guilty for the consequences. She told me to ignore it. But I can't stop thinking about it. Because they're not wrong that this has destroyed my family. My mom won't speak to me. Half my cousins blocked me. I lost my aunt and uncle entirely. Thanksgiving is coming up and I already know I'm not invited anywhere. My brother did that by stealing pills. But I'm the one who made it permanent by testifying. My dad came over again last night. He looked worse than before. Thinner. Older somehow. He told me my mom is talking about leaving him. Not divorce necessarily, but separation. Because he won't denounce me publicly. Because he told her he's proud I testified and she sees that as choosing sides. 32 years of marriage, he said. And it's coming down to this. I asked him what he wanted me to do. If he wanted me to back out of testifying at the appeal. He was quiet for a long time. Then he said no. That doing the right thing isn't supposed to be easy. But his eyes were wet when he said it. I found out yesterday that my brother's girlfriend has been running a fundraiser. For his legal fees and commissary money. She's raised almost $8,000. The page has my brother's mugshot with a long story about addiction and mental health and family betrayal. It doesn't name me, but anyone who knows us would understand. The comments on that page are brutal. People calling me evil. Saying I'm proof that blood means nothing anymore. One person said they hoped I ended up in prison someday so I'd understand what I've done. I reported the page but nothing happened. Apparently it doesn't violate any terms of service to crowdfund for a convicted criminal's appeal. My therapist suggested I stay off social media entirely. But I can't stop looking. It's like picking at a scab. Every time I see another post about family loyalty or forgiveness I feel sicker. The cancer patient's daughter reached out to me through the prosecutor's office. She wanted me to know she's testifying at the appeal too. She said if I was having doubts, I should remember her father's last months. How he spent them angry at her for something she didn't do. How my brother stole not just pills but her father's trust in his own daughter. That helped. For about an hour. Then I started thinking about my brother on suicide watch and felt awful again. I talked to my dad about the cancer patient yesterday. About how the daughter had to live with her father dying while hating her. My dad looked at me and said something I didn't expect. Your brother did that. Not you. Don't let anyone convince you otherwise. But my mom is convinced otherwise. So are most of my relatives. And every day it gets harder to remember who's actually responsible here. Someone left a note on my car 2 days ago. Just said family killer in red marker. No signature. Could have been anyone. My neighbor's security camera didn't catch who did it. I filed a police report but the officer seemed skeptical that it was connected. Said it was probably kids. But I know it wasn't kids. The prosecutor wants to meet next week to prepare for the appeal hearing. She's going to coach me on what to expect. Apparently my brother's lawyer is aggressive during cross-examination. She said he'll try to make me emotional on the stand. Try to get me to admit I want revenge. I don't want revenge. I just want this to be over. But it won't be over after the appeal. Even if the sentence stands, my brother will be in prison for years. And my family will hate me for all of them. My dad asked me if I'd thought about moving. Starting over somewhere else where nobody knows this story. I hadn't, but now I can't stop thinking about it. 3 weeks until the hearing. The prosecutor says she's confident the sentence will hold. That the evidence is too strong and the other victims' testimonies are too compelling. But I keep thinking about my mom's panic attack. About my dad's wet eyes. About my brother's shaky handwriting in those letters. Am I doing the right thing or am I just being stubborn at this point? The appeal hearing happened yesterday. The sentence stands. My brother will serve the full 4 years. I testified for 90 minutes. His lawyer tried everything to break me down. Asked if I felt powerful putting my own brother in prison. Asked if I enjoyed watching my family fall apart. Asked if I'd consider that my testimony might push my brother over the edge again. I looked at my brother when the lawyer said that last part. He was crying. But I kept thinking about the bathroom floor. About him stepping over me. About the cancer patient. I told the truth about what happened and sat down. The cancer patient's daughter testified after me. She brought her father's last journal. He'd written about the missing pills. About suspecting her. About feeling like he couldn't trust anyone near the end. The judge listened to every word. My brother's lawyer argued mental health again. Brought in a psychiatrist who said prison would worsen his condition. Said he needed treatment, not punishment. The prosecutor pointed out that 12 people needed their medications and got theft instead. The judge took less than an hour to decide. Said the original sentence was appropriate given the scope of the crimes and the vulnerability of the victims. Said mental health doesn't erase responsibility. My mom wasn't there. She told my dad she couldn't watch me do this again. My dad sat behind me the whole time. I felt him there even though I couldn't look back. When it was over, my brother's girlfriend screamed at me in the hallway. Called me a murderer. Said I'd killed him even if he was still breathing. Security had to remove her. My dad just put his hand on my shoulder and walked me out. We sat in his truck for 20 minutes without talking. Then he said Mom wants him to move out. That she can't be married to someone who supports what I did. He's staying with his brother for now. I asked if he regretted being proud of me. He said no. But he looked destroyed saying it. I went back to work this week. My boss welcomed me back like nothing happened, but I can tell some patients heard about it. Got some looks. One older woman asked if I was the girl from the news. I said no, but I think she knew I was lying. My brother's girlfriend took down the fundraiser page after the hearing. I don't know if she ran out of support or just gave up. Part of me wanted to check how much she'd raised, but I deleted all my social media last week. Couldn't take seeing the posts anymore. My mom finally called me 2 days ago. I almost didn't answer. She said she's filing for divorce from my dad. That she can't watch him choose me over his son. I tried to tell her he didn't choose anyone, but she hung up before I finished. I called my dad after. He already knew. Said she'd told him that morning. He didn't sound surprised. Just tired. 32 years, he said again. Then he asked if I was okay. I lied and said yes. My therapist says I'm grieving multiple losses at once. My brother, my mom, my dad's marriage, half my extended family. She says that's normal. That doing the right thing costs something and I'm paying the price. But I think about those 12 people a lot. About the cancer patient who died angry at his daughter. About the elderly woman who thought she was losing her mind when her pain pills kept disappearing. About all the people my brother hurt without caring. And I think about what would have happened if I'd stayed quiet. If I'd written that letter asking for leniency. Maybe my mom would still talk to me. Maybe my dad would still be married. Maybe my family would be whole. But my brother would have learned he could steal from vulnerable people and family would protect him. And maybe he would have done it again when he got desperate again. The prosecutor called yesterday to tell me it's officially over. No more appeals possible. My brother will serve his time and that's the end of the legal part. But it's not the end for me. My mom won't speak to me. My dad is getting divorced because of this. I lost aunts, uncles, cousins. My family split down the middle and I'm the one who cracked it open. I got a letter from the cancer patient's daughter last week. She thanked me for testifying both times. Said her father would have wanted someone to hold my brother accountable. Said she hopes I find peace with my decision. I cried reading that. Because I don't know if I'll ever find peace with it. My brother will get out when he's 40. I'll be 36. I don't know what happens then. If he'll want to see me. If I'll want to see him. If there's any relationship left to salvage. My dad thinks maybe time will help. That eventually my mom might understand why I did what I did. I don't believe that, but I didn't say so. I'm moving in 3 months. Different city, fresh start. My dad is the only one who knows where I'm going. He helped me find an apartment and put down the deposit. Said he's proud of me for protecting myself even now. But I see what this pride cost him. His marriage. His family. His peace. Sometimes I wonder if the bathroom floor was worth all this. If holding my brother accountable was worth losing my mother. Worth destroying my dad's marriage. Worth splitting my entire family apart. Then I think about 12 people who suffered because nobody stopped him sooner. About a man who died thinking his daughter was a thief. About vulnerable people being preyed on by someone they trusted. And I think maybe it had to be me. Maybe someone had to care more about those 12 people than about keeping peace in a family that was already broken. I don't feel good about any of this. I don't feel righteous or justified. I just feel tired. My brother made his choices. I made mine. And we both have to live with the consequences. I just wish the consequences didn't hurt so many people who didn't deserve it.